Rob Bell Speaks.
I like that. But Aaron, just to let you know, we already started rolling.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, this is how we do.
Okay, all right.
We don't have a intro anymore. We kind of evolved out of that space and letting it flow. But I want to hop into us talking about this new project that you have started kicking it off. Really, it got kicked off about last month.
Last month. Yeah.
Last month.
What's the name of the project?
Well, we haven't put a name, so we'll just call it Fantasia.
I like it.
Yeah. So you want to know a little bit?
Yeah, like what sparked it?
What made me think of doing
exactly?
Yeah. So my mother, who passed away last year, I think you know that, sparked it because Fantasia's story is my story. And I'll tell you why briefly, but I'll tell you why. Fantasia grew up and dropped out of high school because she was pregnant. And because, she was in a relationship with a dude who was abusing her, blah, blah, blah. My mother had me in high school and dropped out of school. Her struggles were the same as my mother's struggles. And more importantly, it's not just about Fantasia. It's about young Black women that I've known through the years that had this same kind of struggle and how they survived. Fantasia had a dream. My mother had a dream. Fantasia succeeded in acquiring her dream. My mother succeeded in acquiring her dream. She dropped out of school, but then she ended up with a master's degree and then went on to get a PhD.
Wow.
Fantasia went on to be the Fantasia we know today. And I'm giving you a short version, but I'm trying to let you know what I see. This is a young lady who grew up in High Point, North Carolina, who had the, how can I put it? She had to fight through the waters to get to where she is today in terms of raising a child, in terms of abuse, in terms of, being a young Black woman and not having a lot of support, to no fault of her own or her parents, even though they were, prominent church people, et cetera, but it was a small church, that kind of thing. And she had a gift and she was able to bring that gift to all of us. My mother became a community activist. She helped put in, and this may not sit well with some people, but she was the person that drove the community to elect Marion Barry. Now, before you have a thought about that, Marion Barry did what he did, which a lot of people did, but he got elected after he went to jail. So when you put that in perspective, you understand how much he meant to the community and what he did. And right now, DC's plan, if you go to DC, you can see all these beautiful buildings and all the kinds of things that are going on. That was all created by Marion Barry. So I'm trying to tie in why I feel Fantasia is necessary to tell her story in her hometown. So you can ask me some questions.
I was going to just say real quick with Marion Barry, if people do the research, they get caught up in all of that scandal and stuff that went on with the drugs and all of that. But when he was initially elected, the things he did was amazing. Like, he was prominent in the community and doing stuff. It was, after all of that, where things got in, who knows what, got onto all of that, but he was doing a lot of good things.
Right. He was.
So
he got, as with that generation, my generation, he got caught up in cocaine.
Yeah.
A lot of people got caught up in cocaine. The story goes that there was a young lady, and this is pretty much a true story, that, was getting ready to go to jail, and she set him up. And
Really?
Yeah. So, so she couldn't, so she didn't have to go to jail, and he did, and they wanted him. He was the big fish.
Oh, wow.
But at the end of the day, Martin Luther King, he was this right-hand man.
Yeah.
I mean, he did all kinds of
I didn't
stuff.
know that.
Yeah, he's
So he was.
he was.
Watched the documentary on him, the stuff he had did.
Yeah.
Like they never talk about all of it. They just focus on their drug stuff.
Right.
They make that the comedians, everybody. That's what they focus on.
Right.
But it's like
that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, but people got to think. Okay, well, why did he even get elected in the first place?
Right. Exactly.
Like that first term.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
What was going on? What was he doing prior to that? Like he had been active. He had been doing so many things in the community. But anyway, I just had to put that out there because I was like,
and you're right on target. He was born in Berry Farms. If you know DC, you'll know Berry Farms is the deepest hood that you can be in. He, like I said, he promoted and marched with and did all kinds of, things for Martin Luther King Jr. And I was real proud of him. As a matter of fact, I was director of his program for like 3 years, after finishing college.
And I'm glad you brought up being director of a program because before we get deep into why you are doing this, right now raising money for her statue to be in High Point, for her to be commemorated in High Point. I know you through being excellent at what you do, and I would like for our audience to kind of know about your contribute to these nonprofits and how did you start coming a part of helping build communities and building different programs. You was the executive director for Tab Arts, which you did a wonderful job.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So we wanted to get more into your community service that you've done.
Yeah. Well, let me start at the beginning. The beginning is that before I got to TAB, I also worked in LA with Fair Housing for Children. We helped put the books on for Fair Housing for Children with Hillary Clinton, who I also have a lot of respect for. A lot of people don't know how smart she is, what she's done for all kinds of people, not just African Americans, but just she's a very intelligent, very worthwhile individual. I moved on from doing that, and I'm just giving you my history in terms of community. I moved on to be with an organization, a community organizing organization called WECO. It's the biggest organization they had in New York, and I was doing it in the city of Cleveland, and I did church-based organizing. Helped put the second Black mayor in office, Mike White, in the city of Cleveland. As I said, I was director of Marion Barry's project, Pride Incorporated, which was his project to bring youth off the streets. TAB has been dear to me because I've been in arts all my life. I started with the Negro Ensemble Company as an actor. I'll say it's funny how my man talked about Richard Pryor actually was a comedian at one time and did the Brotherhood Crusade with Richard Pryor. I was director of Marla Gibbs, Playhouse, which was training actors. So I've been all over the place, but I've always been centered in community. And I've been centered in community because my mother was centered in community. She started off helping individuals get elected, and she got elected. And then, this is all from a lady who, she had a hard life. I didn't have a father in my life. That's also the connection that, Fantasia, she had a father, but if you know her story, you kind of know that some things have gone awry with that.
Yeah.
So
with the hard living, as far as like you speak about your mother, then she ends up working in the community. Was that part of it? What inspired her to make changes in the community? Were some of the things she endured?
My mother?
Yes.
Yeah. But that was just her. She was that woman that if she saw you, we talked about this earlier, if she saw you doing something that wasn't right, she was that person that called you out and said, "Hey, what you doing?" you know. And I used to say to her, look, that guy right there, you know, he might hurt you. And she said, oh, no. And I think that always brought about that I had growing up, even though it was modest, a Kool-Aid house. And I don't know if you know what a Kool-Aid house is. Kool-Aid house is when my brother, everybody kind of migrated in my house, and we broke bread together. We talked smack. We did all those kinds of things. And people and neighbors used to say, why you got all them kids in your house? And my mother would say to them, and I do this to this day, and you know my house, you know, I know where my kids are. And guess what? I also know that your kids are here and I know who they are.
And
so that's how you begin to really do parenting. You have to know who they're in relationship with. And you also bring those people. And to this day, those young kids are now adults and they still come by my house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your house is the Kool-Aid house.
Yeah, it's the Kool-Aid. It's a Kool-Aid.
Yeah. It was very wonderful. I went to, it was a Tab Arts event, correct? Was it?
It was.
And it was a pool party, and that we all got to meet everyone that was on the board and the sponsors that helped. Yeah, I thought that was a great event.
So that's a good, unless you have something to say, I was going to say, that's a good segue into, so I know we talked about like the origins of the project, and with the similarities in the relationship as far as between Fantasia and like your mother, as far as with high school and pregnancy and everything. What's the goal of the project?
The goal of the project is to have young people that are here look at her statue as they do with the brother that has the jazz statue,
John Coltrane,
right? And
down in right there behind City Hall.
Correct.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
saying. And to understand that you can do that too. I mean, you know, I think of statues, for instance, Katherine Johnson. And I probably should tell you all this, and I hope this isn't getting long, but I do have to. My wife is a descendant of a slave owner. He married a slave, had 13 children, and somehow they came to get him and they hung him. But before they hung him, he signed over the land to her great grandmother.
Wow.
And she, when the slaves were freed, she went to court to get her land. And after a while, they got her land. She got her land, rather. W.E.B. Du Bois and the governor at that time wanted to build a black college, and they couldn't find anybody that would do it, but they knew she owned all this land. So they went to her, and she donated the land, and that land is now West Virginia State College, which was one of the first HBCUs. Where Katherine Johnson went, where the first black NBA player went, and several other people, you know, so.
That is something.
So your wife is a descendant of the owner of the land that West Virginia State is built on.
Correct. They still have his grave there, but he wasn't a good guy. Now, I just want you to be clear. But
he's trying to turn over a new leaf at the end.
At the end, he was turned over, but it wasn't a new leaf.
It's the saying. I'm paraphrasing, but it's the saying that says that a man has to first be cruel before he knows how to be noble. So it sounds like you said he might still had some tendency, but the fact that he wrote the land over.
Right. Well, he loved her. I mean, obviously he loved her. He had 13 kids.
And he was sacrificed for that.
He was. Yeah, he was. But there's a movie out which my daughter played. It's called River of Hope. If you get a chance, check it out.
So what was the name again?
River of Hope. Yeah. But I mean that happened. So
man,
that's amazing. I don't think I know anyone that had land given to them by one of the slave owners. That's interesting.
And the fact that they worked, she saw the ancestor, your wife's ancestors saw the importance of donating that land over to them to establish the HBCU.
Is it still considered HBCU? I don't think
it is, but it's different now because, you know, they give money for people to, so you have some people that are, you know, not living on campus. The whole campus is Black, but you have people that are commuting into it, but they still have that. It's still, you know, considered HBCU. Okay. It's amazing to me because people come back for their what do you call it?
Homecoming
in wheelchairs, walkers. You know,
they coming back.
Because they understand the history.
Yeah,
you know,
that's important.
Yeah.
It is.
I had just hearing about. Yeah. Does your wife go?
She does. We go every year. It's funny. Almost everybody that I've taken there, they go back every year.
I bet. Yeah.
And they go back for what we talked about earlier. The fact that there's this real sense of community that you find here as you live here, which we talked about earlier, where people is doing this. Now I understand they do this. And I say, hey, you know?
Yeah.
But when I moved, it was like,
because we had that up north.
Exactly.
And it's,
right.
And for me, and I'm not sure if it's the same for you, but it's like, I didn't know nothing else.
Right. Exactly.
So coming here was completely different.
Right.
And my family, because me and my brother and my mother, we're the only ones this far in the South. Everyone else is, I got a little bit of family in D.C. We're really outside of D.C. in Baltimore. And then it's Chicago and L.A. and New York. So all my family's pretty much in big cities.
Right.
And they all are like, why are you there? They always trying to get me to move. Right. And I'm like, you know, it's just right. You know, I visit every year, multiple times out the year, I'm going to Chicago, L.A. To see everyone. But I like being here.
Oh, no question. I told all my boys, you know, they used to laugh at me, man, you live in High Point, North Carolina. Like, what's wrong with you? And I said, okay, well, wait a minute. I can get on the plane, come and hang with you, then get back on the plane and go to where I have land and my mortgage is your rent.
Some grass.
So that's why the majority of people, when you talk to people, I can't tell you, I know more people who had came from up north here than I know people who are from here.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because everyone comes down here. That's why that's why Charlotte is the way it is.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because, you know, now some of those same people, they live in Charlotte. You know, they understand. I mean, it's really no different than what Atlanta did.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. And now Charlotte is beginning to be, in my opinion, the new Atlanta.
I agree.
You know?
I agree with that. It really is. Yes.
Well, I want to get back to the Fantasia project.
You're like, we're way off.
You're fine. Because, okay, I know you say you want people to be able to look at the statue and feel like that they can accomplish that too. This may be going ahead of your vision. I'm not sure, but how do you plan on putting those pieces together to to make that happen?
Right. Well, I mean, it's three-pronged. One, corporate sponsorship. The second is people power.
People power.
Right. And, you know, donations from the community.
Okay.
And here's what I mean by people power. You know, I tend, you know, whenever I do a project, I always know that a project is succeeded by having relationships. So I find somebody with a relationship with this person, and that person may have a relationship with somebody, or they may be the person. And that's where my community organizing skills come into play. I mean, you find the people and then you either move up the ladder or the ladder is already, you know, it's already at the top. So you find those relationships. I'm getting ready to have a meeting with the mayor on Monday. You know, we want them to have skin in the game.
Right.
You know, statues are not cheap.
Right.
Yeah, they're really not cheap. So I did talk to the brother that did Katherine Johnson. Do you know what Katherine Johnson is? She Hidden Figures.
Oh, she is the one that
The
was talking.
scientist.
The scientist. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Where is she from?
she's from West Virginia. Her statue is on, West Virginia State's
Oh,
campus.
so she was.
So I
okay.
knew the guy that did that.
That's
So
amazing.
connecting the dots.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And so just kind of making sure that you have that, and
Mm-hmm.
the young lady who spearheaded that statue presentation is a friend of mine, Belinda Fuller. She's a vice president of West Virginia State,
Okay.
and she told me about how she got community involved, and they just gave $20, and eventually
They had enough.
they had enough.
That's nice because
Yeah.
you got a roadmap
Right, exactly.
as far as
Mm-hmm.
go about.
Yeah. Mhm.
I was just thinking that because it is a statue of Fantasia, she's aware of all of that, and what is her
Mhm.
part in it?
Well, let's just say she's not aware,
Okay.
but the powers that be are aware, because we don't want her to know about it right now. We want her. Right,
Right.
It's gonna be like the unveiling.
Right. Exactly. But first of all, there are things that I had to find out along the way. Like Fantasia right now doesn't like to be called Fantasia Barrino. She wants to be called Fantasia Taylor.
Oh, because she's married.
She's married, right? And so, yeah. And then the other thing is that, one of the things that when sponsors want to know is how she's given back to this community.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she hasn't had an opportunity to do that because of her situation. I mean, that she had a situation where her husband did ex-husband.
Her ex-husband.
Did some things and stuff. So, we're kind of, dissecting that and trying to make sure. So, we're doing pretty good though. I have the people in place to kind of do this. Now we're making it happen. Yeah.
When was as far as the idea of this concept, when was that initiated? How long has this been?
It was initiated by a young lady who remained nameless, but I've done a lot in the Greensboro and Charlotte area. And she came up to me and said, and she was a young person, she said, Mr. Taylor, you do all kinds of stuff in Greensboro and Charlotte, but you live in High Point. How come you haven't done anything in High Point? That's where you live. And I said, and so my next project was going to be in
High Point.
I like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get pulled into all these others and you're working because of, your people seeing what you're doing. So they grabbing you here and there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes home is sometimes the last place that you work on. I'll say that real quick, not to go, so I know you're about to say something. I always think about, I watched the interview with Jim Brown. He was a huge activist in the community and working with young Black men. But he put so much focus on that. His kids at home said they took the blunt of that because he was gone all the time. And he's older now. He's like, he realized that part. So it's like, sometimes you get pulled in so many directions to do all these things because people see what you've done and what you can accomplish and they grabbing on you. And it's like sometimes home is like the last place that you actually put attention to. But I'm happy that someone brought in that you was open to, like, let's do something.
Exactly. I knew Jim, by the way, in LA. I started the first, I also was a basketball player. I'm a Metropolitan basketball player. And I started a tournament called the Poinsettia Classic, and Jim was there, and Roger Mosley, and
Okay.
Aaron, who are you?
That's what I was like. When the man told me his age, I had to do a double take because I was like, I can't believe the age. Can I say your age again?
She knows my age.
Yeah.
No, I do not, Aaron.
I thought I told you, and having.
I gotta see.
I told my sister. You did not tell me.
First, no, go ahead, because you don't look nowhere near this. But yeah,
I could have swore, Tiffany, I told you and Heavenly at the same time my age, but I'm 70.
I did not.
It's like there's no way. That's the alcohol.
Well, you be swimming and stuff like what? You so
Damn, you can't swim at 70?
Something about,
I'm just saying how much energy you have.
Yeah, it's like we had this idea of getting to a certain age.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't move, like just, you don't move, like you don't, it's just, it's not.
But you don't move because you get caught in that I'm X or I'm,
Right.
you know, like I moved like this all my life. Since I was 16 years old, like it was, you know, it was doing that. And I know people that are older than me that, you know, you don't know how old they are because they, you know, like Denzel Washington. I mean, you know, Denzel Washington, you know, I was in a play with him and he moves like that. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I mean,
I didn't
just
realize how old he was until
Yeah.
they talked about him. I'm like, he's doing action. Well, he just did Equalizer 3 last year.
I know.
I was like,
Right.
he's doing these action movies. I'm like,
I believe you're as old as you feel.
I agree.
You know,
I do agree. It's just when you meet someone and they tell you your age and you're
Right.
looking at them.
right,
And you physically, you're looking at a person, you like,
right.
because you got this idea.
Yeah,
of
what it looked like.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know,
Well,
it's
you know
just
what
like-
they say about us.
Yeah.
You know what they say.
But man,
I
it's,
love your laugh.
That's right. But I enjoy telling people how old I am because the alternative is not good.
right.
You know, I mean, you know,
I wonder.
I'm
how
here,
many
right?
people think you're
Yeah.
lying.
Yeah.
I wonder, so they're like, let me see. Has that
they
happened?
do
They're like,
they
"Let
do
me
all
see
the
ID."
time. You know, they always
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Because you don't even look close to it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not the problem.
Yeah.
That's the
Mm,
blessing.
that's
but
a
it's
yeah.
like,
great
yeah,
thing. That's
You
a
don't
great
even
thing.
look close
Yeah.
to that.
But I just, you know, I move. And Tiffany,
Yeah.
I could have swore I told you that.
No, Aaron. I would have remembered.
Say that would have clicked.
Yeah, yeah. Because I know the last time we kind of hung out, my sister was there. I didn't even know the background of how you guys met.
Yeah,
I forgot that she knew you way before.
she did.
You
She
know,
did.
yeah,
And that was interesting too.
yeah. She gave me that. It was like a bit.
I'm gonna go into that. But it,
We have to bring you back.
yeah. We're the story of Tiffany in heaven.
We did. She was starting to tell too much that night.
It was the funniest thing ever. But I
But
mean,
I was in therapy. I think I was.
I loved it though. It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I think it was good for us because we was learning each other more
Yeah,
that night. Yeah.
I mean, she just kept saying, "I didn't know that."
I didn't know she felt that way. She was just revealing stuff to him. I was like,
Right?
no, you felt that way. I did that? You felt
I'm done. Yeah.
it was good. It was fun. It was fun. When we said we weren't gonna tell nobody.
No, we ain't
though.
gonna tell. We ain't gonna tell nobody.
I ain't gonna tell nobody. But I did want to get into when you said that you was in theater. I
Right.
didn't know that either. How long was you in theater?
I was in theater for, I guess, from 18 to maybe 26.
Mhm.
That was my volition. That's what I wanted to do in life. You know, I started off. Well, let me step back. I played basketball, and I figured, and I could tell you play because you know, I thought I was going to go to NBA. And during that time, you know, 5'11" point guard, you
was
could
good.
do it. Now
Yeah.
it's 6'3" and you know
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
That's considered small.
right, exactly. Yeah. So I made all met. I did pretty good, and we played in a championship game. I played with, I don't know if you ever heard of him, Adrian Dantley at DeMatha. He's a Hall of Fame basketball player, and I hurt my knee, and I couldn't play anymore. Like, I mean, I could play, but it wasn't the
That's
same.
the level.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't the
People
same.
don't understand. And I'm not to cut you off, but
Yeah.
anyone who's been an athlete and played sports
Mhm.
and you trying to get to those next levels,
Mhm.
if people who haven't played, they don't realize an injury just because, like you said, you still playing.
Mhm.
People see you on the court, they're like, "Oh man,"
Right.
like, and you like, it's different.
Right. It's
As you
just
go to those next levels, it's just different. The speed, the physicality is so different. And injuries, that's why so many people, I'm sure you know a lot of people as far as yourself as well, they get an injury and you like, man, and they had to pivot,
You-
do something.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in to take a quote from a movie, a sunken place. I mean, because, you have your dreams. You want, I wanted to buy my mother a house for all the things she did and all that kind of stuff. But my mother said to me, and this is, again, she said, you need to figure something out. Like, you can't, basketball ain't it. Like, you need to figure something out. And she enrolled me rather in a program called Howard Upward Bound program. I don't know if they have that here, but and that's when I found theater and I loved it. And my uncle was a director and a producer in New York. And I started doing plays at Howard. The dean of Howard let me do it. I mean, I was still in high school and he let me do it. And Clay Goss, you can look him up. He's a very famous playwright, put me in the lead in one of his plays. And then my uncle reached out to me and said, look, this is how I got to New York. He said, I want you to come to New York and I want you to do this play with a young lady by the name of Peggy Pettit, who did the movie Black Girl. You can look her up too. Yeah. And I toured with that play for a while, and then I was hooked. And then I went to LA and started, doing stuff. I met Marla Gibbs. She was in a workshop I was with, and then I got a girl pregnant. And I had to make a decision. Do I continue this road? Because what people don't realize for us, all those people you see on TV, most of them don't make a lot of money.
Right.
They're struggling through. And, I was doing modeling, doing some other stuff, but I wasn't making any cash. And I had a baby on the way. And that's when I started working for Fair Housing Program.
Yeah. And you're correct. And the arts is, you don't know where the money is coming from. It's not consistent.
It's not at all.
People see you on TV and just make the assumption.
Yeah. Right, exactly. I mean, I used to play Bones, not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
Yeah, nah.
I used to play Bones with Roger Mosley, Ron O'Neal, Jim Brown. All of us were like playing Bones. And I was sitting there saying, damn, excuse me, I don't know if I should say damn.
No, you can
say whatever. Yeah.
But damn, I'm sitting there playing Bones with these guys. And Roger Mosley had Magnum PI at the time. And, Jim was doing his thing, and I was thinking, I'm not making any money and they ain't either. Why am I, that was the first time I saw Ron O'Neal with, without his like hair, people didn't know that he was, half bald. They didn't know him as Superfly.
Right. Yeah. Nobody knew.
So, I chose to deal with, protecting and doing things I needed to do for my family. And that goes back to my father not being there, my mother being, that queen that she was. So it really all connects.
Okay. But this is because I met your children, but so this is your first child.
This in L.A. Aaron.
In L.A.
Right.
Your son is the oldest.
Yeah.
We have 4 girls.
Right. No, I have 3 boys.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3 boys
and 1 girl.
And one girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just showed you him. He's the one that had the
yeah.
He's in LA.
And he is in LA. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like earlier you said your 3 kings and your queen. Okay.
Yeah.
You got 4 kids. I think I did business with your daughter.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. She did.
Well, they're not kids anymore. I have to continue to do that because we party with them, we drink with them, we reach out with them. We had this place where that's what we do. But I do have 5 granddaughters. I can't get a boy, man.
Oh, what was you doing back in the day that you getting all the girls? Because
no, that's not on me.
that's on deal.
That's
what was they doing?
Right? Yeah. They ain't doing it right. I tell you that.
That's why they get girls. That's what they say anyway.
Yeah, it really is about the dude. It ain't about the girl.
He just said, I'm just listening. Like, the things you've done and experienced, like, it's across the spectrum.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I was thinking we was just on the project and we talking. I'm like, it's so much as far as the things you have to offer and the experience and the guidance and all of that. You so much because of the life, and that's why when I was like, you've seen. I know you've seen a lot. Once you told me your age, but it was
We should be giving you a statue.
No.
All in the community, you
but that's something. So that's something because we actually talked about this the other day. The idea of like with Fantasia, we think is great, but also too, have you all thought, and when I say you and your team thought about after this is completed and you get to do the unveiling and all of that, because I know it's a lot of work getting all of that together. Have you looked at those in the community that are doing stuff that maybe people just don't know about, but they've been
commemorate one of them.
Yeah, just as well as like with yourself. Like people don't know because it's on the community level, it doesn't get the all the lights and glitz that entertainer would get because of that.
Right. Yeah. And Tiffany knows this, I think. The plan is not only to give Fantasia a statue, but to also, High Point is getting ready to be an art consortium downtown High Point, is to have a presence in that area so that we can acknowledge people that are doing work like a Carvina Foster or like a Tiffany or like yourself. I mean, people need to know who you are. Not so much me. Like I've done stuff. I'm not looking for accolades. What I'm looking for is that my biggest, if you want to know what moves me is that my kids, young adults now, moved to Charlotte. And when I asked them why, they said, because there's nothing to do here. There's nothing for us here. And that's the same premise that is for churches, for anything. And that is that you have to have something that talks to what young people want.
Yeah.
So, I'm part of, a fraction of people that want to build something here in this area or in High Point area rather to make them stay home.
Right. Because that is our passion as well as bridging that gap between the students that leave to go off to college. If they leave to go out of our city, we want you to come back after you finish and so into the community. But because community is not taught in our school system, civic engagement is not taught in our school system. It has to be someone to start to implement that piece. Even when you go to a local college, like you have several colleges here in the Greensboro High Point area. But if they're not teaching to do things in the community, they're not going to feel ownership in that community. Exactly. So it's really easy to leave. For like myself, after I graduated from A&T, I went to Atlanta so fast, like the next day, it felt like after I got my degree, I was just like, okay, I'm out. And so it wasn't until I started creating a family, I wanted to move back here because I knew Atlanta was too fast. I knew that I didn't want to raise a child in that type of environment. That's what brought me back. But once I got back, I valued this place more. And community is on the top of my list of my purpose in life is to assist the youth in knowing the importance of the chicken lady up the street, the ice cream lady up the street, creating the awareness of, of circulating those dollars in the community and having that ownership of don't come over here and bring nothing into this community that's not positive. So that is, I would be sad as well if my sons, because they grew up in the community. They grew up with me doing paper to film downtown Greensboro Cultural Arts Center. They was on my back, one of them baby sacks that you put them in. So they grew up into that, but I did that purposefully because I want them to know about community. So I do understand what you're talking about. And I feel like after this project, with Fantasia, that is something that we can kind of hone in on as well, is making sure the city of High Point has a program in place to make sure we stay together as a community. If you go away, you still have in the back of your mind, I'm going to come back and sow seeds in the community.
But you do have to have that piece of, I'm coming back because there's stuff for me to be involved in.
That part.
You
That's
know,
the thing you create, and that's the thing we talk about all the time. You set up these programs and you start with those young adults. That's why I love the fact that you make that connection, because you have to bridge the gap. You have to know how to interact with them to even want them to start to consider doing things.
Yeah.
But if you're talking at them and speaking to them and saying, well, my generation did this and my generation, nobody wants to hear that because every generation does that. Every generation thinks the generation under them is worse. That's just how it is.
That's exactly right.
So, it's like, you don't have a lounge. I can go to Charlotte and have all the lounges in the world. And then, but in High Point, it's only furniture places to go to.
Yeah. To establish those programs, then those, even if they leave, they've already, erected that program to get started and is going, and they can always will come back to that because they're attached to that. They had a relationship, and you now understand how big it is because they see themselves in the next generation coming up, and they understand how that was a part of them growing and becoming more and expanding and going to that next level.
Because in
their own evolution.
Yeah, because when you do have something in place like that, the youth is going to tell you what the city needs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick up on something you said, and you're going to say, oh, you did that shit too. But I coached basketball at Southwest High School for like 3 years.
Really?
And one of the things that you talked about was language. And language is real important. Why do I look youthful? And because I understand what youth does. I'll give you an example. I was coaching one day, and it was practice, and the young people were like, yeah, coach, we going to watch Reggie Bush tonight. And I was like, Reggie Bush ain't on. You talk about smoking weed.
Right.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you why that's important.
Yeah.
Because that brought me closer to them. They understood I was connected to what they're connected to. And then driving them home and understanding where they lived. And so I tell people all the time that are older, you got to understand the language. You got to be part of the whole, not just part of you, saying as you just laid out, back in my day, we didn't. Your day is gone.
Right.
This
and they
is
ain't coming back.
2 days. Yeah, so you have to understand, what's going on. And, that's why, just kind of bringing it back, that's why I had a Kool-Aid house, because I understood that you learn from that. You know what's going on. The young people that came, I was going to say kids, but the young people that came taught me that just in being, not directly telling me, but just in being, just, being there and hearing what they said. And, and then, when you get involved in the community, you learn it a little bit more. So, I just thought that was important to say.
It is. Yeah. It is about the language. Yeah.
Don't want to do that because, like you were saying, it's like this comparison. Well, my generation did it, but it's like, if you're, like you said, your time is now past. They're the ones that are taking society into that next step.
Right.
So if you're trying to support, assist, give guidance, and direct, you got to speak to them. And then once you establish that relationship, it changes.
Right.
Because like you said, you establish things with them, and now you can speak to them completely different. But you got to establish a relationship first, because they got to be like, I don't know, this dude is
right. So it's like my 10-year-old granddaughter. We were going through like some of the, expressions and things we used to say, and, she was saying what she used to say. And now I've incorporated them, that part. Things like that really connect you to, those people. And, it's not just your generation, it's the younger generation, because they grow up real quick, and they do, and you know that. I mean, with having to, it's, you have any kids?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you know it too. I mean, so you got to really understand their language. You got to understand what they're doing, and they live in a fast world.
They do,
and so you have to. I'm sorry, I got off the subject.
No, that's
I
think that's so important.
So important.
It's as they say the.
Yeah, it was good.
This is good. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's
Whiskey Pig.
Yeah, what is it called?
What's pig?
Yeah, I gotta get me some pig.
I'm very excited about the project with Fantasia. I do think that the youth should be able to look at her and say, I could do that too. So I would like for you to kind of, I guess if you have an email, if our audience could, if they are interested in assisting in any type of way, how can they contact you?
Yeah, it's ataylor6673@gmail.com.
Okay.
And you can call me.
Okay, don't give your number.
Oh, okay, we won't give my number.
Just email him. They be calling you. Your wife will be like, "No, they're gonna look at you on YouTube like, that's a 570-year-old. I'm calling for a date."
Exactly. Yeah.
He said exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I appreciate you guys doing this. I think it's a great thing to do.
Thank you. We definitely want to, as things progress, especially once you get to a certain stage where things are being like signed off on, but we got to get you back to kind of talk about that, because I wanted to dig into, I know we're wrapping up, but once you get to that point, I feel you'll have the challenges that you went through to get to that point, to where, you get the sign off from the mayor, you get the sign off from whatever city council, city manager, all them people that I know you got to meet with and talk with and everything. And that's the thing people don't know. Now, I would love when we get you back to get into that, because people don't understand. It's not just the idea. Is, can you communicate with those, as me and her talk about it, those gatekeepers?
Right, for sure.
And the fact that you're doing it. Like,
for sure.
That's big.
Well, I do have a, the mayor, present mayor in High Point. I've been in his corner for a long time, and and I think he has a vision. So we're gonna test that vision, and see what that is. But he's a very astute young man. I was a little dismayed, and I'll just go into this real quickly, but I think it's important. He was at a church that will remain unnamed. And the people that were introducing him, first it was someone that gave the person who was going to introduce him their resume, and it just happened to be his son, and he was giving this long, drawn out resume, blah, blah, blah. And then the son came on and said, yeah, that young man, I knew him when he was blah, blah, blah. And, he was he's a young man that I think can do well. And I'm thinking, he's the mayor.
Right.
Like, give him the respect. And see, this ties in, the reason why I wanted to say this ties into what we were talking about. Give him the respect that is due.
Yeah.
Young doesn't mean nothing right now. What his vision and how he's going to lead the city is what should be talked about.
Yeah.
So I was, one of the things that I want to say and convey to him is that, be the mayor and don't let people do that to you anymore. And that's the way, you need to be the mayor.
That's good. I know they just did, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, they did the budget for High Point. So I saw that on the news.
Yeah. He's I met his mother yesterday. I went to a event for Pastor Frank Thomas. They were celebrating his birthday, and his mother is somebody you should bring in here. She's very interesting. She's an artist, and she's done all kinds of stuff, and she's an interesting individual. Okay. And I see why he had the fortitude to go on to be mayor.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a chain reaction.
Right,
She
exactly.
did something well.
Right,
just like your mother being a community activist,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you're sitting here right now.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I grew up in an era where mothers were very strong. I'm happy to see now that I'm in an era where fathers are beginning to be the same. And, you know, I mean, it's very important. And then when we come together, we're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. Anyway, I appreciate the opportunity
but before
to do this.
we leave out, we got to get you to sign.
Okay.
And I definitely want to record while you sign.
Okay.
I know. I'm just telling
Yeah, we had
was an artist, Joseph.
Yeah, I did. Look, we had no artists. We did a little graffiti type there. Like they be. See? I have to figure out where I can. You're good.
There we go.
All right.
It looks fresh right now.
Right. Thank you so much for being a part of an episode of Broad Belt Speaks, where we highlight the celebrities in the community.
Yes.
And to us, that you are a celebrity, I thank you so much for your services and all you have done in our community. And I look forward to assisting you on this project.
Bringing you back to go over that, you know, as you progress.
Yeah. And if there's anything else we could do, just let us know.
I will. And I'd like to thank you guys again for, you know, doing this. And also my guy over here, Kirk from Boston, that did it without the assistance of his better half.
Right.
You know, so,
let it be known. But yes, and as always, we do always like to check out Flux Studios in the basement. And then we always say our engineer of the last 3 decades, internationally known, Kirk.
Yeah, he is very international.
He's so modest and humble.
Yeah, he is. You know.
Well,
and the movies that he's done.
Well, I do know that he has some good bourbon.
That's what we're doing.
Glad you enjoyed that.
Yeah, Kirk.
Thank you again. Appreciate you. And then if you do come back, I know we had 2 other people we wanted to bring on board too. I know Tasha Dukes, her story is very interesting.
It is.
Yes. And then the other
Avetta,
because she used to be the president of the
NAACP. Correct. Yeah.
So maybe we can get.
I wonder if they're paying me back because I was supposed to do this.
We were supposed to do it. Yeah, and you
it got like, you do it now.
Right.
But the person is here that's supposed to be here right now today. So I'm grateful to be in your presence.
Just beautiful young ladies that have a lot to offer, and they've done a lot. So you'll be very interested in their stories.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Until next time. Thank you for watching another episode of Broad Belt Speaks.
Peace.
Now, how can I see?